Hi folks! Welcome back to our channel. With winter just around the corner, people living in the northern hemisphere might be thinking that going to a warmer place for a couple of months can actually be a good idea. We did it ourselves last year and left Canada to spend the winter months in Mexico.
In this video, we will tell you about our preparations for this trip, what had to be arranged in Canada before we left, how we found our accommodation in Mexico, and what rules need to be considered when you move to a new country.
By the end of this video, you'll be fully ready to arrange your own trip to Mexico for winter, and we'll give you some tips on how to save money on accommodation, so stay tuned.
Because of the changes brought by the pandemic, a lot of workplaces switched to remote model, which allowed people to be more flexible about where they choose to live. This made our trip to Mexico possible.
We ended up staying there for 4 months, traveling around the country and exploring new places, while still working. Let us know in the comments below if you're thinking of traveling to a warmer country this winter and what challenges you're facing.
When we were initially discussing the possibility of moving to a different country, even if it's just for a few months, we had several items on the list that had to be considered.
Can we work remotely?
Where are we going to live and how we can do it without breaking the bank?
Are we going to rent out our apartments or keep them idle?
Where are we going to store our stuff and our valuables?
And who is going to look after my dog for such an extended period of time? First things first. Work. We needed to keep working and earning money to fund our travel. I work in IT and my work arrangement has always been remote oriented, even before the lockdown.
In my field, which is architecture, most of the offices tend to be in person, and we were only forced to move online during the pandemic, and the majority weren't even ready for it technology-wise. With COVID restrictions lifting, the assumption was that people would be mandated to go back to the office. This didn't work well with our plan, and I managed to find a new job a couple of months before our trip, and it was fully remote.
And there it is, the first point is covered. We both could continue working while traveling without any harm to our careers and income.
One important thing about traveling and working. There are some amazing remote locations and you definitely would want to visit, but they are so off-grid that stable internet would be almost impossible to find.
For example, we went to Holbox in Zipolite, and both times it was during our vacation week. The internet was really slow there, so it wouldn't be suitable for working. Keep this in mind when looking for your next stop.
When looking for accommodation in Mexico, we chose a conservative approach: rent through Airbnb. It might be not the most cost-efficient way, but it was our first time traveling for so long and we had to try it out.
We didn't want to sign up for an extended lease agreement in one place because we wanted to have the flexibility of traveling to different places. If you go with Airbnb, here's a piece of advice. Try to book a place for at least 4 weeks. That way, you will get a significant discount on your accommodation.
Another reason for us to book Airbnb, related to the previous point, was that we needed to have a designated workspace for both of us. So there were cases where we found the perfect apartment, but they couldn't provide us a desk and we had to look for something else.
A lot of times, hosts were very open to providing you with an extra desk or even upgrading the internet. There are a lot of working travelers and digital nomads these days, and local hosts understand the demand and try to meet their guest needs.
Altogether, we stayed in 13 different accommodations while visiting places like Cancun, Tulum, Holbox, Mexico City, Zipolite, Puerto Escondido, Cholula, and even Puebla. If you would like to follow our journey, make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow our Mexico playlist.
Looking back, we can say that this implied a lot of moving around. It was very tiring at the end, and if we were to do it again, we would probably book an apartment in Mexico City for a longer period and would just travel to other areas without the need to pack all our stuff and travel with a heavy suitcase.
You can think of joining expat communities online and getting to know the country you plan to go to beforehand. Some expat Facebook groups constantly post information about apartment rent and other tips and tricks.
Mexico has several international airports all around the country, but within the country, you can only travel through Mexico City. For example, if you want to go from Cancun to Puerto Escondido, there's no direct flight. You need to have a layover in Mexico City.
But internal tickets are also very affordable. There are several low costers, and you can buy your tickets in advance as cheap as 40 Canadian dollars. Keep that in mind.
This way you could also save money if you fly from Toronto to Cancun on Swoop. It's another low coster. And then get a cheaper internal flight to get to Mexico City. This will cost you 200 to 300 Canadian dollars versus 400 to 700 for a direct flight from Toronto to Mexico City.
I was debating whether I should rent out my apartment or leave it as it is. Financially, it made a lot of sense to rent it out, but also being a new home owner, it's always a bit nervous to let someone else live on your property.
We made a more detailed video about buying a property and renting it out. You can check it in the upper right corner.
To cut the long story short, I was lucky to find a neighbor who was looking to rent an apartment in my building for several months, and it worked out perfectly. I hope you enjoy the stay at my place. So this is the office space. As I said, you can use the monitor. So this is the bedroom, so I left the storage for you here. Consider this option when you're planning to leave for a long time. Ask around among your friends and post a message in your building group. This would be a good help for your budget, and you can help with mortgage payments while you're paying for another accommodation somewhere else.
I was also considering subletting my apartment, but the thing is, I have a dog. Usually people don't rent out apartments together with dogs, right? So my option was to rent out an apartment to cover my own rent expenses, but then I would have to pay for my dog's daycare or boarding. And daily boarding rates is something between 30 to 50 Canadian dollars on average. So monthly expense would fully eliminate my rent substitution. But I was lucky to find another option. I came across this amazing app called Trusted House Sitters. It's not an ad, by the way. It's the app that is really cool. I've been using it for a year now, and it's a huge help if you have a pet.
Basically how it works is there are pet sitters willing to look after your furry friend, and there's you who has a pet and a home. You both pay a membership but don't have any monetary transactions with each other. The app connects you and does all the background and security checks, and it benefits all parties. You find a sitter who is willing to look after your pet without stress, and the sitters get the free accommodation, which is your home.
I've met a lot of interesting people through this app, and the couple that was looking after Stevie during our Mexico trip agreed to stay for the whole term of 4 months. By the way, this can be another great option to find accommodation for your travel destination. If you love pets, you can become a sitter and save a lot of money. Just make sure to do it a couple of months in advance.
Now that both of our apartments were arranged to host someone else, we had to think about where to store our own belongings. First of all, we had a decluttering party. Yay! It's basically when you go through your things and get rid of the ones you don't need or don't use anymore. Some you exchange with your friends and some donate, and others just get thrown away, which is least ideal. It's a great exercise to do once in a while, but especially before you move somewhere.
The remainder of our things we packed in boxes and moved to storage.
Just another day of packing. I throw things that I want to donate here, and then I basically label every box from every side, because once you put it in a locker, it's really hard to see once they're stacked, right? So I label from every side because I don't know where the box is gonna end up being in the locker.
We rented a self-storage unit, and we also got the first months for free, so make sure to look out for special offers. This will save you money.
So little stuff we have. The locker is so empty.
Very organized.
There's nothing in the locker.
2 more boxes and 2 bikes. For all the valuables like documents, passwords, money, and keys, we rented a deposit box in a bank and stored them there. It's not that expensive. The price depends on the size of the box, and it gives you peace of mind when you know that your belongings are secured.
We also exchanged some amount of cash in the local currency right before our trip. It's always good to have cash with you because you don't know what the situation might be with the card payments, ATMs, or exchange offices, at the place where you will arrive.
After we did all these preparations, we were ready to go on our exciting journey. We have already posted some videos from our Mexico trip, so check them out and leave us a comment about what would you like to hear about more.
Thank you for watching this video and stay tuned for more.
Till next time!